Hello and welcome to another edition of 360 Sports. We got a really good show for you guys today and an even better crew. To my left, we got Kenny, Jack, and Ryan. So let's get this show started. We can't start anywhere without talking about the NBA trade deadline. We've seen some crazy trades this week.
Yep.
And the biggest trade, Luka Doncic getting sent from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers in a trade that nobody knew about. And it sent shockwaves to the entire NBA. So let's start there. What are your guys' thoughts on the deal? Who won this trade?
I think that both teams won this trade. All you're going to hear is that the Mavericks got fleeced by the Lakers. I get it that it's Luka Doncic, but if you're the Mavericks, they got 10 times better defensively. You had Anthony Davis and Max Christie, who people are just forgetting about. I sat and watched all these Lakers games. Max Christie has been our best defender all season. I was more sad to see Max Christie go than I was Anthony Davis. And then, but if you are the Lakers, it is Luka Doncic you're getting. When you put LeBron and Luka on the same team, that's going to be a nightmare for coaches to game plan against. You have two ball-dominant players that you're going to be able to have on the floor at all times, at least one of them.
I like this trade for the Mavericks this year alone. I mean, when I look to the future, you're trading a 25-year-old that's the future of your franchise. GM's over here saying, I don't see him as a future going forward because he's a little fat. I don't care if he's doing suicides. He's averaging 30 point triple-double. I don't understand it. Christie's an amazing 3-and-D wing. Had a good debut last night. But, I mean, I just don't get it going forward. If you don't win a ring, this trade's if you lose a trade.
I don't think the Mavericks won this trade at all. I think they got worse, actually. I mean, AD is great, but the way we're talking about it right now is that as great as AD is, he's a 10-time All-Star, all-defensive player. Luka Doncic makes the trade seem so uneven just by himself. He's that important. And I think it just takes the Mavs from a possibly contending playoff team to maybe a play-in team. I'm not sure if I trust AD at this point in his career to A, stay healthy, or B, carry a team by himself. I mean, he'll have Kyrie when Kyrie's available, but
I think it's definitely interesting. I mean, I think the Mavericks definitely did not have any patience with Luka. I mean, you're talking about a 25-year-old. He just took you to the finals. Was unbelievable. Led the playoffs in basically every statistical category. And even if he is 270, I mean, he's better than 99% of the guards. And so the reality is, I mean, you gave up on a player who was your franchise guy. He's a global superstar, let alone he's getting you a lot of ratings. I mean, people are tuning in from everywhere trying to watch Luka Doncic because he's must-see TV. And Anthony Davis is unreal, but the reality is Anthony Davis gets hurt a lot. And I could see the Mavericks being good for the next 2 to 3 seasons, but I think we'll really see how bad this trade was for the Mavericks in the next 10 years if Luka wins multiple chips.
Okay, you want to mention the Anthony Davis injury thing? I mean, I want to put it to bed that he's been healthy for the past 2 seasons.
Healthy all year.
And before he got traded, he was coming off of a 40 and 20 game. And this is still a top 3 defender in the league right now. Again, I already talked about Max Christie. I think Nico Harrison is doing his thing right now, picking the defense up. The defense, they just got Caleb Martin as well.
Yeah. I like it this year alone, but I mean, you look forward. If you want to trade Luka Doncic, you have to let every other team in the league know you can get so much more than just Anthony Davis. There's teams willing to give up the whole system for Luka Doncic. I don't think you just make this trade on a random Saturday night without telling the rest of the league.
I mean, Luka is your entire offense. He generates pretty much everything. What's your identity now that he's gone? I mean, obviously a defensive team, but who's going to carry that workload, that scoring or assist workload that's just gone now?
So AD doesn't score? He can't put the ball in the basket?
He can't score like Luka Doncic can score.
And look, LeBron James was there to get AD going. I mean, have we seen AD
going?
They
run their offense through Anthony Davis.
Yeah, they do because LeBron is there to make sure he gets going. Listen. We just saw this with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Did that work? It didn't. Kyrie Irving is not a playmaker. Now you got he's not. Look at his assist numbers in his career. You have other point guards averaging way more assists than Kyrie Irving. He's a pure scorer.
Okay, I get the assist thing, but at the end of the day, Kyrie's going to open the floor for others. If you're not throwing 2 at Kyrie, he's going to give you problem all game long.
Not the way LeBron does, though.
That's true. That's true, too.
And there's actually only 2 players in NBA history who've averaged 27, 7, 7 in their careers, and now you have them both on the same team, LeBron and Luka. Yeah. So I'm really interested to see how that works out. But the second biggest trade, I'd say, is De'Aaron Fox getting traded to the Spurs. The Spurs are in win now mode. They got a young Wemby who's on the rise. He's a first-time All-Star. De'Aaron Fox, it got stale in Sacramento, and they got a whole bunch for him. They got 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. So I don't think the Kings are unhappy about moving on from Fox. But what do you guys think the outlook is for the Spurs and what's their ceiling this season?
I think it's a shame that the Kings, had to let Fox go now because I mean this happened the day after Luka got traded. You might not get as much for him that you could have. One of those firsts is a fake first. It turns into 2 seconds, so it's not that much compensation. I like this for the Spurs going forward. If you want to build a point guard to fit next to Wemby, it's De'Aaron Fox. I mean, that pick and roll with Fox, you got to either choose to lob to Wemby or Fox driving in the lane. You can't choose the right option.
I mean, it takes some pressure off of Chris Paul too. You know, he's getting up there in age. People had questions about this fit together, but I think there's any player-coach combination that can make a fit work like that. It's Wemby and Pop. I think it's not close.
Well, I think it was a masterclass from the general manager. I mean, the Spurs gave up absolutely nobody. They had
didn't even give
Stephon
up that Hawks
Castle,
pick.
Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan. I mean, they had Keldon Johnson.
Yep.
They didn't have to get rid of anybody, and they just got so much better. Even Chris Paul is still there to help De'Aaron Fox kind of get into that role and help Wemby out. So I think that was a really, really impressive trade by the Spurs.
Yeah, that was my main gripe about this whole trade. Like, you're the Sacramento Kings, and you couldn't get one of those young pieces. There are so many young. I would have even been satisfied with Champagnie if I was the Spurs. And then, for the Kings, Zach LaVine is great.
Yeah.
People are forgetting what Zach LaVine does. If you look at his numbers, because I know you're a numbers guy, right?
I am a numbers guy.
His numbers, you could qualify him as an all-star if you were on a winning team. 24, 5-5. His shooting numbers are off the charts this season. And like he's gonna bring a great element to the Sacramento Kings. And personally, I do like Malik Monk being kicked to the 1 now because Malik Monk, this is the best I've seen Malik Monk as a passer this season.
He's an underrated playmaker for sure. And LaVine, I mean, he's been like a top 3 true shooter in the whole NBA this league. I mean, we haven't really talked much about LaVine and the Bulls. The Bulls didn't really get anything with LaVine. They got a bunch of bad contracts. Kevin Huerter, they can't even get him off the books this deadline. They're going to eat that. They didn't even get a real first-round pick back. They got a protected one. That was their own. I don't know. The Bulls year after year seem like they can't trade their players for picks.
Yeah. And the Bulls and the Jazz being involved in these trades, it was hilarious to me. They didn't add no value.
I mean, I also want to talk a little bit about the Kyle Kuzma trade.
I was actually going to go there. I mean, it's interesting because Kyle Kuzma, I think everyone forgets, won a title with the Lakers and was actually a pretty big part of that team. But it's interesting because the Bucks, they had the formula for winning. They had Jrue Holiday, they had Chris Middleton, they had Giannis. They moved on from Jrue. Hasn't worked out so far. Now they're shipping another one of those, the former big 3 away to the Wizards. I'm sorry, Chris Middleton. It's going to be a rough year for you. But but now you have Kyle Kuzma joining Lillard and Giannis. I don't know if that qualifies as a big 3, but what are your expectations from Milwaukee?
I mean, you've seen this before. I think there's a lot of value in taking a guy that's performing above expectations on a bad team and adding him to an already contending team, like how the Nuggets did with Aaron Gordon a few years ago. He became a very solid role player. I think this could end up being that, but I was looking at some of Kuzma's numbers lately, and they're really bad. He's shooting 60% from the line, which is
he has to be one of the most inefficient players in the league right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's less weight on his shoulders to be shooting like that now that he has the gravity of Dame and Giannis, but still.
It might be just he plays for the Wizards and he doesn't want to be in Washington. I don't think a single player in the league wants to be in Washington. For the Wizards, I mean, you pick up Middleton's contract. Middleton, he's lost his legs. I mean, I wish he was the same.
Yeah.
But old Cash Money, I mean, on those Bucks runs, 40 a game, he was so clutch. But, I mean, you had to move on from Milwaukee. This puts them under the tax, too. They can make a couple moves tomorrow or tonight.
Well, one guy that has been moved at is Jimmy Butler, and he has been disgruntled for now a month or more, and he still hasn't found his way out of Miami. Kevin Durant is reported not wanting to go to Golden State, which I don't understand, but he doesn't want to go there. Jimmy Butler now, it seems like the potential options are just getting smaller and smaller. So do you guys think he gets dealed before this deadline, or is this something that's going to continue past the trade deadline?
I think Jimmy's going to stay with the Heat, honestly. If I'm any team, if I'm 31 other teams in the league, 29, excuse me, why would I want to deal with this? Like I'm not going to call him a cancer to a locker room, but it's like everywhere you go, there's a problem. It's like, how do you not want to go play for Coach Spo, man?
I mean, at this age, too,
yeah,
for him
35,
to be
36,
acting like this,
about?
like how many good years does he have left? He's past his peak.
Mm-hmm. And it's like he started off, he's like, okay, I'll go anywhere. And then I'll go here. And then I'll go here. And now it's only Phoenix. Phoenix don't even want him anymore because KD's on the block. I mean, do you even really want Jimmy Butler if you're a contender? Like the Warriors want him, but the Warriors are desperate.
I will say this, though. Jimmy Butler, while he, sometimes he causes chaos in the locker room, let's not forget, he took a Miami team to 2 different NBA finals. by himself
Mhm.
as an 8 seed against the Nuggets one time. And honestly, if he had any help, they would have had a chance in that series. So I understand, but for teams who are like really needing to make a push now, I could see making a deal for Butler. Listen, Philadelphia, Joel Embiid loves Jimmy Butler. Paul George is not playoff B. I'm sorry to say it, more like pandemic B. So I think this is an option. Match his salary, trade Paul George away, get Jimmy Butler. But I don't know. I'm
Would
just
Jimmy
saying,
even want to go back to Philly after what they
Yeah.
did? They
He
signed
said
Tobias Harris.
anywhere
over
but
him.
Memphis. Anywhere. I think
No,
Philadelphia.
and now it's
but
anywhere
Memphis.
except Phoenix. It's like only Phoenix.
I don't even know why KD is on the block. When did these rumors start
last
to pop
night,
up?
it was
I
just-
mean, if you're Phoenix, do you want to move on from Kevin Durant at this
Yeah.
point?
After
over
all they
Jimmy
gave him,
Butler?
they gave
Kevin
up a
Durant,
lot for him,
Yeah.
bro.
KD can still give you a lot in a game.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's like the Suns. You look at them. How high is their ceiling this year? Are they going to win a champ? Are they going to make a run?
Their
They
ceiling
could
gets
with Kevin,
lower.
but
It gets
exactly.
lower if they trade away KD for Jimmy Butler.
But
in
maybe
my
you
opinion.
just reset. Like maybe you just not Jimmy. I'm saying I don't think they should trade for Jimmy because that's just
Yeah.
a downgrade. But maybe you just trade Kevin, and try to reset.
It might be time to do that. But we all know the All-Star game is coming up soon. Every year, there's always controversy about who should have been an All-Star, who didn't need to be an All-Star. So I'm not going to take anything away from any of the guys. Everyone's well-deserving this season, but there are always some All-Star snubs. So I want to hear who your guys' snubs are. So we'll start with Jack.
All right. There was a bunch this year, man.
There was. I guess it's not getting snubbed anymore. It's getting traded.
All right. So for my snub this year, this is back-to-back snubs for this guy. I think I'm going with Domantas Sabonis. There's an argument over Sengun. I like Sengun. This is his most inefficient year right now for Sengun. Sabonis, first player in history to average 20, 12, and 6 and not make the All-Star game. Back-to-back years he's done that. Hasn't made the All-Star game. Kings 10 seed when the voting went out. I can get putting Sengun over a push on him just because Sengun's the most impactful player on the Rockets. But Sabonis, man, snub after snub for Sabonis.
Well. First off, Sengun did deserve to be an All-Star, I would say. And on top of that, if I were to go with anyone, it would be Norman Powell. But in reality, nobody got snubbed. Every single All-Star deserved to be an All-Star. I want to give a shout out to a guy like Evan Mobley. We're seeing a leap from him. I don't know what Kenny Atkinson told him before going into the season, but Evan Mobley is hooping like a monster right now. He is the nucleus to that Cavs offense. If he wasn't hooping like how he is right now, the Cavs would not be first seed. Another shout out to Jalen Williams, my guy J-Dub, elite two-way guy. When Chet went down, when Isaiah Hartenstein was out, J-Dub was running the 5. Another guy to shout out, Sengun. The Houston Rockets deserve the representative. I'm going to put it right there. And then my last guy I'd like to shout out is Tyler Hero. I even think he deserved to be an All-Star. While we're going through all this Jimmy Butler drama, another guy that, like Bam Adebayo, he hasn't been his usual self, but Tyler Hero has kept this team afloat, averaging 24, 5 and 5. Tyler Hero has been the best playmaker for the Heat this season, and I haven't seen playmaking from Tyler Hero like this in my life. And I think what this All-Star selection shows you is that we really do value winning basketball. So hey, if you do not want to be snubbed, go win some basketball games. Simple.
Yeah, it's rough because there's only so many roster spots in this league. It's insane with talent.
Yeah.
Like there's like 10 guys we could have put for snubs that are snubs,
100%.
but all these guys deserve to be All-Stars for sure.
What you got, Ryan?
For my snub, this is the biggest snub to me. It's Trae Young, and it's really not that close. I mean, Trae Young is generating the second most points in the league behind only Jokic, which is insane if you ask me. He's probably going to finish top 25 all-time in points scored, probably top 10 in all-time assists. He's averaging 11 assists for 4 straight seasons now, and he is incredible in the clutch, like all-time great numbers, something like 45% on final shots. I think if you have guys like Tyler Hero making the All-Star game and not Trae Young, then something's up, personally.
Listen, I completely respect that, and I think Trae Young definitely did get snubbed. But if we're talking about the biggest snub, I mean, there's only one right answer, and it's your boy from the Philadelphia 76ers, Tyrese Maxey. I mean, let's just think about this. No Joel Embiid, no Paul George for the majority of the season. Tyrese Maxey has basically carried this team on his shoulders. So let's get a little bit statistical here because I like the numbers. Tyrese Maxey's 4th in the NBA in scoring at 27.8 points per game. You know who that's more than? Kevin Durant. Tyrese Maxey, let's compare him. Darius Garland got in the All-Star game. Listen, I love the Cleveland Cavaliers. Great team. They deserve to have All-Stars. But if you're comparing Tyrese Maxey and Darius Garland, there isn't even a comparison. Tyrese Maxey averages 6 more points. He averages more boards. He averages just a little bit more assists. or a little bit less assists, and he averages more steals and blocks. And what was the knock on Tyrese Maxey at the beginning of his career? Oh, he don't play defense. Well, guess what? Tyrese Maxey's third in the NBA in steals. So the reality is Tyrese Maxey was a big snub. The 76ers aren't even sniffing the play-in tournament if he's not this good this season. And every year he gets better. And he was an all-star last year too. But this year, he gets snubbed. So I think it was a little bit disgraceful.
Okay, hold on. So I gotta stay on that. So you want to say what's the difference between Tyrese Maxey and Darius Garland? One is one team has his team on a historical pace right now. Tyrese Maxey has his team, like you said, sniffing the play-in, right?
So let me ask you
They're
this.
searching over there in the play-in right now.
If you swap places, though, I
Exactly.
think the Cavs would be
But
even
you
better
can't
than they are
swap.
currently.
You can't
You
swap
can't.
places.
saying is
We're not
we're
living
talking
hypothetical
about
land.
who's
Thank
impact-
you.
Whose impact is greater on their team? Who's getting their team more wins right
Bro.
now? Is it Darius Garland or Tyrese Maxey?
How many wins do the 76ers have?
All of their wins are because of Tyrese Maxey. Like, listen, he's got 28 plus points in 15 straight games. His last 6 games, 30 plus points and 2 40 pieces. I mean, look, Darius Garland's a great player, and I love Darius Garland. He had a really rough year last year, and this year he's really bouncing back. But if we're talking, listen, the Cavs are number 1 seed for multiple reasons. Darius Garland is on that list, but he is not the top 2 or top 3 reason why they're number 1
Oh, I
seed.
think Darius Garland is a top 3 reason, definitely a top 3
You
reason
want to
why
give
the
him third,
Cavs are
give him
one
third.
seed.
But Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen, that combination of players with Kenny Atkinson as the coach has been unbelievable this
Then
season.
why couldn't they get it done last year?
I mean, listen, they have a new coach. JB Bickerstaff got shipped down to Detroit, and look at Detroit. I mean, they're playing well
But if
too.
you talk about players that are underseeded, look at LaMelo. LaMelo's averaging more than Tyrese Maxey. He didn't make it. He didn't get a sniff.
Okay, but the
Win
reality
games.
is Tyrese Maxey
Win
didn't get it. Okay, but let's
games.
compare the Hornets to the Sixers. Who's got more wins? A lot more wins. Philadelphia is the only team in the bottom.
The
of the
fact
East.
that
It's
you're
like
comparing the
comparing,
Hornets to the Sixers tells you
shows-
everything you
it
need to know,
I'm
man.
just saying Tyrese Maxey is responsible for more of the Sixers wins than Darius Garland is for the Cavs.
I think you're sleep. I know that the numbers aren't there for DG compared to Tyrese Maxey, but you got to give him his flowers.
No,
What about
listen, I'm
compared
giving
to
him
Trae
his
Young?
flowers. Listen, I respect
DG
Darius
versus
Garland.
Trey Young.
Trae Young is a hooper too. Don't get me wrong, but go win some games.
They're
At the end of the day,
they're at a 500 level.
at the end of the day, yeah, they're 500 still.
They're
How
trash.
many receivers?
Their second option is out, and they're the Hawks. They're going to be stuck in mediocrity forever. I think if you put Trey, and we're going to talk hypotheticals again. I think if you put Trey behind an offense where he doesn't have to be the entire system, I think his numbers, specifically his splits, would skyrocket, and that's his main knock on him right now. But he has to carry the entire load of that offense, which is why his splits are bad,
But-
which it contributes to his haters' narrative that he's a bad player.
In reality, though, I think what we're seeing from Trae Young this season, in reality, is that he's taken a little bit of a step back offensively and let guys like Jalen Johnson and DeAndre Hunter shine.
Jalen Johnson's out.
So those turnovers
Jalen
could go
Johnson
down.
just got ruled
He
out.
just
like
got ruled
last
out,
week.
yeah.
I mean, Trey the
just
other day
finished.
had 34 and 17. Did you see that game winner?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw that game when I bet Pistons
Ice
money
Trey.
line.
Look, there was a bunch of guys that could have made it this year. I would have been happy to see Tyrese Maxey and Trae Young in instead of Tyler Hero and Darius Garland, but we'll save that for another day. We're going to move on. This next segment is going to be a Keep 4, Cut 4. We're going to have 8 players on the board, and we're going to try and keep 4 without knowing who comes next and see how well we do. So our first player is going to be
Oh, he's
Oh.
regressed. He's
Huh?
regressed.
What?
The past week or two, look at his numbers. He's come back down to earth.
I don't know
Okay,
about
like,
that.
he's a
Look
second-year
at his
player. Let him
numbers.
play,
I'm
bro.
just saying
He's a
right now,
defensive-
if we don't know who's coming next,
No,
You're right.
I agree. I cut him
his
just
numbers
because
in the past
they're
few
the
weeks
talent
have
in the NBA.
regressed a lot.
We're
I
going to
agree
see
you have to cut
another
him.
worse player, I feel like.
But there's
100%.
4 though. I think you
100%.
have to cut him just because there's 8 players. There's got to be.
he's
At
great,
least 5
but
better
there's
than him
definitely
right
4
now.
better than he is.
I love him.
in my
Man. He's
opinion.
a freak, but
Unless we get like Miles Bridges on here, I mean, I think he's got to go. I think
Yeah,
man,
I'd say cut.
man.
I think he's got to go.
top 4.
All right, we could cut him, man.
We'll cut him.
I'm sorry. I'm
We'll cut
sorry, man.
Okay.
See, like I would have wanted a man over
Yeah,
Tyrese.
I agree with that.
Are we
but-
talking roster wise, or are we just talking better player?
Better player.
We're talking
I'd say
better
player.
the
Then
rules are better.
Halliburton-
Right
gotta be a
now,
better player.
Amen is bringing you more to the
Listen,
game than Tyrese
The
Halliburton
Pacers
is.
are
Right now
really
he
good
is.
right now.
Right
And they're really good, but that's
Yeah.
because of Pascal
Look-
Siakam.
Look at the Rockets.
You
Rockets
can't
are
put
really
it
good
all
right now
on
too. Listen,
Siakam.
I think Halliburton's definitely having a bad year, but I think we got to
He's an
keep
all-star.
him.
You gotta keep him.
He's been pretty good, other than some 0-point games here and there. But he's been pretty good, so I think we got to keep him. What do you think?
I want to cut that. Come on, man. I want to keep Amen.
I would say cut.
All right, we'll cut him. We'll cut him.
I'll say
We'll cut
cut
him.
him.
We'll take our chances. We'll take our
take our
chances.
chances.
All right, we'll take our chances.
You might be stuck though.
Yes,
Keep,
yes,
keep,
J-Dub,
keep.
keep.
Listen,
Need
he's
him.
having a great year. If the Thunder are not where they
So
are without
underrated.
him,
Let's go, J-Dub, next
Next.
one.
easy decision.
Yes, oh my God.
J,
Yo,
Triple
I'm
J
so-
is unbelievable.
I'm so
this year.
sorry. I forgot to say during the All-Star thing, If John Morant made All-Star and he didn't, I would have been so pissed off. Thank you, Jerry Jackson. You've been keeping this team afloat. Keep him.
Yes.
He's
I agree.
underrated at
keep-
this point now that Wemby's
Yes.
taking over the defensive
Yep.
player combos.
No, he's been unbelievable. All right. Oh, we're keeping him. Come on.
Keeping him.
Wait, so isn't that our
We're gonna
fourth guy?
have 2 cuts
He
left.
might have been a snub too.
This will be our third guy.
Nah, I mean, he missed a
in
lot of
5.
games.
Yeah,
He's
so-
okay,
he's
fair
I know. I mean, look, if you look at
You got to keep.
if you look at the six, I mean, listen, I'm a Sixers fan, so I'll be watching the games. He cooked us this year.
Mhm.
I mean, his shot has gone so much better, and I don't even think this is a hot take anymore. If I'm starting a franchise, I might take him above Pablo Banchero.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Listen,
cooking- I wouldn't say
if
that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
there's a world though.
he-
I
mean,
like
it's
Paulo
possible.
more.
He's
but-
I mean,
Paul's
he's
been
been
struggling, but I mean, they just
Yeah.
came back off injury.
Listen,
You gotta
the
give him
Magic
time.
are set for the future. They got 2
Yeah.
really good
Oh, yeah.
players, and I mean, I love this
And
guy.
Suggs.
But
Wait,
Oh,
so
and
we
Suggs.
we have J-Dub and
J-Dub,
Hallie?
Triple J.
and Hallie.
No,
so
we
this
cut-
would-
we
oh
cut
no, sorry,
Hallie.
we have J Dub and Triple J.
And
This would be our number 3.
Okay, I think we could keep this.
I think we can keep
I
this.
like
I think we
keeping
keep
this.
We got one more.
There's
after
gonna
this.
be a
All right, let's see it.
superstar.
LeBron's next.
I know.
Yeah, there's going to be.
Oh no.
So
We're
we
cutting,
have two more- we
we're
have one
cutting
more
the
after?
last 2
Yeah.
no matter what if we keep
Listen,
them.
but listen. Let's think about it this way. We're not thinking about positions, but we already have Tyrese Halliburton. Right?
No, we
I mean,
cut.
let's-
sadly.
I mean,
We cut.
I don't know
Saturday.
why we
I
have
agree.
Tyrese
No, we
Halliburton.
should
not.
not. We
cut-
cut.
no,
We
we
cut.
cut-
We
we
cut.
cut-
We
we
cut
cut.
Halliburton.
Listen, could he fill it out?
We can cut Trey.
But
we
we
have to
if
cut
he
the last
cuts-
2.
or if he
We have to
keep
cut the
Trey,
last
we
2.
won't see the last 2.
Yeah, cut Trey, man.
Cut
Sorry,
I know.
Trey.
I know he's
I love
putting.
Trey,
I
but-
know.
Go
he's
cut
Go,
putting-
go turn the ball over somewhere else.
Luka's
man.
gonna be 8. I already know Luka's
All right,
gonna
we'll
be
cut
8.
Trey. We'll cut Trey. Oh,
Pat Connaughton. I did not think I'd see Pat
get him
Connaughton's
off the
face today.
screen. He
Cut.
should have been. He should have been
Cut.
traded.
Yeah.
Pat Connaughton
Cut.
should have been
Cut-
traded.
cut him.
We'll
AJ
cut.
Green
This is
better.
not even an answer.
Cut.
AJ
Cut.
Green. That's probably true.
Okay.
Okay.
Yo,
Did we keep her cut? Did we keep her cut Trey?
I guess we're keeping Terry and Prince.
Oh man.
Listen, but
Yeah, it was
actually,
a solid 3 and 2
time out,
guy.
time out,
could've been
but
worse.
Come on,
he's
it's
playing.
solid.
He's playing much better this year.
He's been shooting a good split.
He came from
He's-
LA to
he's
Milwaukee. He's shooting the 3 much better this year. So listen, we have a shooter. Let's think about it that way. We have a shooter.
Ooh.
He's been shooting the ball really well. I think he's top 5 in
Good
3-point
at Trey.
percentage.
That's a bit
I
rough.
thought we
It's
were gonna
better
get
than
a better
Pat
player than
Connaughton.
Trey Young.
Yeah,
Facts.
I do
Better
love
than
some
Pat
Torian
Connaughton.
Prince. I won't lie to you, but it's just funny seeing his face here. What do you don't
That's
belong
fine.
here, though.
No, he don't. He really don't. He
Oh,
really don't.
Torian.
All right, well, we're going to move on. There's been a lot of talk about which players are franchise players. And over the course of NBA history, there have been a lot of guys who have been the faces of franchise, who have won chips and who have not won chips, but their legacies are cemented. So we're going to talk about franchise GOATs. We got 3 teams, and we're just going to discuss on who we think represents the franchise and who the greatest player of all time is for these franchises. So the first one we got is the Los Angeles Lakers. A whole bunch of options. But who do you guys have?
I
I mean,
mean,
it's got to be Kobe.
yeah. I was gonna say nothing but that guy right there.
I think Kareem's an option. I mean, if we're being honest, the skyhook was one of the most influential shots in the game back then. I mean, the impact he had on the game, second all-time leading scorer in NBA history. I mean, I could see Kareem or Kobe.
I wanted to go with, I was thinking with Kareem. I am a LeBron guy, so I was automatically going to say him, but I'm not going to disrespect Kobe like that.
Has to be
I feel
Kobe.
like Magic Johnson needs some love though. Have any of you guys seen Winning Time? HBO show about Dynasty Lakers. They had a great coverage of Magic Johnson's early days there. I think he needs some love as one of the GOATs if he's like 1A, 1B with Kobe for me personally.
If we're talking about who the greatest player to ever play for this team
It's
is,
Bron,
it's
obviously,
LeBron
but-
James.
Mhm.
Lakers
But
go. You think Lakers? You think Kobe?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think Kobe is definitely the Lakers go. Yeah, I do. Next up, we got the Phoenix Suns. This is a little bit more.
What did
DeAndre
DeAndre Ayton do?
Listen, this one's a little bit more up for
Could have get
grabs.
Steve Nash. Just why he has no coach?
Steve Nash is in a coach shirt here. We got,
I mean, I think there's only 2 options on here. I mean,
Yeah.
only two MVPs have ever played for the Suns.
yeah.
Steve Nash and Charles Barkley.
I mean,
I
Nash
mean,
won 2, right?
I just looked at Booker. He just broke the Suns record. I don't think he's the
Yeah.
GOAT, but I
No.
mean, he's close. He's gonna get there. I think
I completely forgot about Steve Nash first. I'm not going to lie to you.
it's definitely Nash.
One
2
of the worst
MVPs.
MVPs.
Not the round mound
One of the
rebound.
worst
I mean, come
couple
on.
of
But he
Some
got-
Charles
we got
Barkley
two-
too.
he
He got
still
2
though.
of them, but
Yeah, he got 0
I don't
rings. Give me
think-
Devin Booker.
I just don't think Chuck. I don't think Chuck was there.
over Charles
enough.
Barkley.
Yeah, give me D Book over Charles Barkley.
Okay,
Barkley
right.
was with
Barkley
the
only played like
yeah,
4 or
Barkley
5
was
years
with the
ago.
Sixers.
Okay.
So I don't think. I think it has
I
to be.
mean, but what has D-Book
Nash.
accomplished in his time with Phoenix?
The most
I mean,
points
he made a
of all
finals.
time
Okay, great. But
in Suns history.
He's
He
like
was, he was 1 game away from the 2 games away from the finals.
But,
Book's
Right.
still like 27,
Yeah, but
28.
but who's
He's
higher
got
all time? Are you
years.
taking Charles? Well, okay, if we're
I
comparing
like
it to
Nash.
the
Just
Suns.
I
I
like
like
Nash,
I would
but
take Nash.
I think
Nash
Book is sneaky up there.
I don't know. Nash won an MVP scoring 11 points a game in the 2000s too. So I know it's like the dead ball era, but that's pretty abysmal to me.
Yeah.
I personally, I think we should go Nash now.
Yeah,
I like
I
Nash
agree with
personally.
Nash. I mean,
I
DeAndre
definitely agree with
Ayton,
Nash.
you know, if he didn't get traded, maybe, but, you know,
I love how we didn't bring up Amari Stoudemire once in this conversation, but
He's
I
not-
love that.
Come on.
dude.
he's not in the same class. I don't
Pick and
think.
roll
I
go.
don't think. All right. And last but not least, we have one of the most historic franchises of all time, the Boston Celtics. They got the most banners. I absolutely hate the Celtics, but listen, they deserve some love. They have had a ton of great players. I don't know. I think it starts with Bill Russell, does it not?
Yeah, 11
Yeah.
rings, you can't beat that.
Yeah, 5-time MVP, I think too. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I
look
really
at
like Paul
the
Pierce, though.
faces on this compared to
it's
the
all
just,
legends,
Celtics.
all
I mean,
legends.
the number of faces
Yeah.
too. That's the thing.
All legends. I mean, what do you guys think Jason Tatum needs to do? Can he pass Bill Russell? I mean,
No.
if Jason Tatum goes on a spree, Celtics have a great team. They got team-friendly deals. Do you think there's a way Jason Tatum could, somehow cement himself as something great and possibly, pass Bill
So
Russell?
how many more rings does he need if he were to pass?
He has
At
too much
least
help.
Two
Well,
more.
at least like 4.
What is it? Who cares if he has too much
I mean,
help?
even like
Bill Russell
Bird.
didn't have
I
help.
mean, even
Bird
like
didn't have
Bird.
help.
Like,
didn't have
is Tatum?
an
The
all-star
Celtics,
starter.
when Bird was winning rings, he had like
Yeah.
Dennis Johnson,
That's true.
Havlicek,
Okay,
all
okay.
these
Same
guys.
with Russell.
Well,
Russell was never the best player in the NBA. Like during his time, he never was. So like maybe Tatum makes a case, but like 11
Is
rings,
Tatum
Bird
ever
has
even
like
close to best player in the NBA? Has he
No.
been? Is he
exactly,
top 5?
no.
So I'm getting the vibe that you do not
Yeah,
like
I do
Jason
not like
Tatum.
Jason Tatum
Why?
personally.
I kinda
I
agree
am a
with that.
Sixers fan,
Okay.
so I have a
So you
personal,
just have-
I have a personal
hey,
vendetta against
Hey,
Jason
JT
Tatum.
has just been killing us all the time, so I just hate him. He
Yeah,
dropped
I
50
mean,
on us, so I hate him, right?
He plays trash against us until the final quarter when he becomes the
I know.
best player I've ever
Exactly.
seen, which is annoying. But I personally do not think he stands up next to compared to all the
Yeah.
other Celtics.
No,
players. Not even
definitely
next to
not.
Kevin Garnett. I have
Yeah.
Kevin
Well,
Garnett.
it's interesting that we have Jason Tatum up here and not Jalen Brown. I mean, it's very because Jalen Brown. I mean, when you're
one's the
talking about-
Finals MVP.
Where's Tatum's
you're
Finals
talking about,
MVP?
I mean, exactly. You're talking about the finals last year. Jalen Brown is arguably a bigger reason as to why they won. I mean, Jason Tatum's a great player. No one's taking that away from him. But Jalen Brown is a baller. I mean, if you're gonna have Tatum up here, they basically have this. I mean, Jalen Brown has more on his resume than Jason Tatum does.
Yo, you're a Sixers fan. You don't know nothing about what it
You
takes
said
to win a
Brown
championship,
has more on his
man.
resume than Tatum?
He does.
Like
No, he doesn't.
the one
Brown's got
thing
the
Brown-
Finals
Brown's
MVP.
really nice,
He's got
but-
Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I mean, what does Tatum got?
I don't get the
Nothing.
JT hate, man.
I don't get it either.
No, I'm
don't
not
get it,
hating on him.
man.
I'm just saying if you're gonna
No,
have
you're
him up
hating
here-
on him. What do you mean you're not hating
No,
on
if
him?
you're gonna have him up here, you gotta have Jalen Brown up here. I mean, they basically.
Okay, yeah, let's shrink it and put even more heads on it, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
where
that's
would
fair.
is he even better than?
No, Jason Tatum
No.
is probably the worst on this list. With
No,
all
yeah.
due respect.
I
Right
put him
now,
up with Paul
yeah.
Pierce.
No, Paul Pierce.
No.
no,
The truth? I don't
Not right
know.
now.
no, not yet.
He gotta
I think
get an
he'll
MVP
get there.
first.
I can't put that yet.
But no love for Larry Bird. Larry
So what
Bird's
do you-
not in that
I mean,
conversation
it
for
kinda
great
goes
Celtics.
without
No, yeah,
No,
Larry
it's
Bird was
Bird
my
and Russell.
second option
Second
behind
option.
It's
Russell.
Bird and Russell.
I agree with
Yeah.
that. I agree with that. I mean, sometimes people say 11 chips at a time where there weren't that many teams doesn't mean much. But I think you're talking about the most iconic franchise in the NBA, and you're talking about a player that everybody knew, the impact he had on the game. I mean, I think he has to be the representative.
Most iconic.
Wait, who said? Well, the most iconic franchise.
Lakers.
Lakers
Listen,
were
What are you
I'm
talking
listen,
about, man?
Listen, who's
Yeah,
talking-
like you said, they were winning rings when there was 4 teams in the league.
Yeah.
listen, I don't know, but the reality is the Celtics have 18 banners,
That's fair. I feel you.
and I mean, when you
Wait,
see that
why do they
logo,
have 18 banners? Because Jason Tatum. Let's talk about it.
not because of Jalen Brown.
Oh shit, bro.
Okay,
I mean,
Jalen Brown was a factor, but if you're a coach, you go into a game saying, "I cannot let Jason Tatum beat me. I can let Jalen Brown beat me." Who gets double teams?
How'd that work?
Who do you double
How'd
team?
that work though?
If you're a
Give him a
coach, who
ring.
are you going to double team? Jason Tatum or Jalen Brown?
Who's the All Star?
Uh-uh.
Who's the All Star this year? Who's the All Star starter?
Both, they both are. See,
No,
it's all-star
starter.
Exactly.
Listen,
Talk-
it could have been
Gotta
either.
talk
of them.
about
It
There
could've
was
been
talks
either-
all summer
You
over
could
Tatum
easily
not
get
making the
Clay for
Olympics.
Brown.
Who had bad games in the playoffs last year? Who
It happens,
who consistently showed up? Jalen Brown. I mean, listen. I'm not here to argue that Jason Tatum is not better than Jalen Brown. I'm just saying Jalen Brown needs more love than he's getting.
He gets love. Everyone hates
No.
Jason Tatum. He literally gets so much love.
Listen. When you talk about the Celtics, people will not. They will always bring up Jason Tatum. They will
He
always.
got
Because
the
he's the best player on
Jalen
the
Brown
team,
got
that's
the
why.
Finals MVP.
Well,
He
yeah,
gets
like-
love.
Usually, when
deserved.
you look at players that get hate, they're damn near the best players in the league.
That's true. I mean,
That's why
look at
Tatum
Joel
gets
Embiid,
hate.
He gets so much hate. When healthy, I don't know.
I don't even
When
want to talk about.
healthy,
I'm
he's
not even
back
gonna
in
talk about
hypothetical
Joel Embiid.
land.
Last I checked, he played last night. That's all I'm saying.
Is he playing tonight?
Listen, it's a back-to-back.
Back-to-backs.
Give
It's
the
a
big-
back-to-back.
He's never playing a
Give
back-to-back
the big
again.
fella some
Do
rest.
your job.
Give him some rest. Give him some rest. All right.
He's had
Come on
rest
now.
all
He's a-
year.
he's a-
He just
he's a big
missed a
guy.
month.
Let him relax. He's a big guy.
Listen,
know?
if he's hurt, what do you want him to do?
Do some handstands. That's what you should do.
All right, we
I saw a
didn't see
video
that.
of him doing
We
doing a
definitely see that.
handstand.
We
Yeah,
definitely did not see
exactly,
that.
man.
Like, what are
Come
you
on.
doing?
On the sideline, yeah.
We definitely did not see that. All right. we're going to move on to the next segment, and it's called Get 'Em Out of Here. We're going to quickly go over some players, and these are players who could potentially get traded before the deadline. Which players would you guys like to see
This
get traded?
was the exact guy I was about to talk about, Cam
Yeah.
Johnson. I want him realistically. I want him to go to the Thunder or the Spurs. I would love his fit in the Spurs. Thunder needs some shooting, so I'd see it. I think they both have the contracts. I don't know what the pick compensation would be like, but future now, I would love Cam Johnson on the Spurs. Like I would love it. That's my one dream.
I'm hearing they're not going to give him up though. They're staying committed to
Oh,
keeping him. I
really?
mean, they're saying
That's
that,
whack.
but that doesn't always mean.
But if you're the Nets, like
truth.
what are you?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to hold him. They already don't. There's already tension between them in the organization. He had trouble with the coach last year. I don't know if that's still happening this year or not, but he's a really talented scorer, and I
Yeah.
think any contending team would be wise to try to call and see what it would take to get him.
I don't know why you wouldn't trade him.
Yeah, I got one guy I know you're gonna like who should be traded. If I were this team, I would be trading Joel Embiid. All jokes aside.
Offseason.
We saw a star
he is no
get
trade
we
value
just
right
saw a
now.
star get moved, right? Hey,
Okay.
if I'm Philly, why can't I give the keys to Tyrese Maxey? You were hyping him up, right?
Small
I
guy.
All-star
agree.
snub, right?
I love me some Tyrese.
Trey
Maxey.
Paul George, why you at it too?
Listen, Paul George, I don't really care about. But when you're talking about Joel Embiid, people seem to forget. People just seem to forget about who he is.
I'm not forgetting.
But he doesn't play
I'm
the
not.
game.
He
Dude,
doesn't.
listen, come on. Before this season, last year, listen, he got hurt, but he did play in 50 plus games. Like this dude plays. He gets hurt.
He plays?
does. When he's healthy, he plays. And what do you want him to do?
He's
Listen,
never healthy.
If you're the Sixers, you drafted him knowing he was going to miss the first 2 years of his career. All right, this is a guy I want to see in Philly the rest of his career. I mean,
True.
he has done some crazy things. He had a 70-point game. Let's not forget how he terrorized Wemby. All right, everyone's talking about Wemby,
for sure.
great defensive player.
For sure.
All right, not many can drop 70 on him. Every time he goes up against Jokic, I know he didn't go up against him this year. He cooks
Every
it.
time. I
He
haven't
cooks
seen him
him.
go up against Jokic in how long,
In Philly, he does. In
Last
Denver,
year,
it's different.
Philly, he owned him.
the
Every time they
altitude- listen,
played,
he's a big fella. It's hard to
Embiid's
breathe
had
in
him.
Denver. Right, the altitude's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie, but the
Bro.
reality
We
is,
just throwing out excuses. Go. Who?
listen.
man?
Joel Embiid, when he's healthy, in my opinion, is the best player in the league. Now he's obviously not ever healthy, but you're telling me if we don't get to the 8th seed, that we can't beat Cleveland?
we're not
No.
getting to the 8th.
But
seed.
No.
realistically, how many times has this experiment when Embiid worked and just failed over and over and over again?
If
It's
I
got to.
was-
So eventually, you just got to move on.
If
If
I'm a
I was
Sixers fan, I'm
Embiid,
not
I
tired.
would ask for out at this point. I feel like the Sixers have
He
screwed him
loves
You have
over
no
and
leverage to
over
be
and
asking
over.
for out.
He loves
Maybe
Philly
it
way
might
too
be
much.
too late for that. It may have been. He probably should have done that a year ago when he still had some chance of still playing. But I think there's no point in trading him now. You're not going to get any value for him. But if I'm Embiid, I'm looking at the Sixers and I'm like, I've been screwed over by you guys for my
Yeah.
entire career.
Come on,
Man,
How
wait,
have the
wait, I'm
Sixers-
sorry, I'm
how have
sorry.
the
This
Sixers-
is too much
years.
Sixers talk right now. Rudy Gobert needs to go. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
There's a world where I feel like Anthony Edwards gets double teamed a lot because of Rudy Gobert and his limitations on offensive
Who
end.
would you bring in?
I don't know who you bring in, but that's a deep point. You got some value right there.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, you know what's interesting because who were the two Western Conference Finals teams last year?
It was
Timberwolves and Mavericks.
Yeah, Timberwolves, yeah.
What did both those teams do? The Mavericks traded away Luka, and what did the Timberwolves do to Karl Anthony Towns? I mean,
That
Maybe
was
that
just.
works, yeah.
they
that
both
was
just
traded
yeah.
away their best player.
Mhm.
I don't understand how you have a recipe
Yeah.
for success and you go and do that. Now look at Karl Towns in New York. Look at Karl Towns in New York. I mean, he's balling.
Okay,
I was
just being technical.
No, no, no,
I'm
Yeah.
messing with you. I'm
It's
messing
one.
with you.
It's one A, one
Edward,
B.
yeah, 100%.
It's
Edwards is
Cat's one of
definitely
the
going to
best
be better when he, end of
Whatever.
his career. But Karl Towns is, I mean, last year in the playoffs was unbelievable. Arguably the best player in the playoffs. He was unbelievable. I mean, and he could shoot
Karl
the
Anthony
three.
Towns was arguably the best player.
Was he
He was
not?
playing well last playoff.
I mean,
I wouldn't
he
say
was
best player,
playing-
but he was
He
playing,
was playing
really
good,
well.
but like, let's be real. Anthony
him
Edwards
and
was
Ant,
easily
yeah.
the best player on that team.
They
Cat
both
had
were.
his times where he disappeared.
I want to ask, as a Lakers fan, who do you want at center? I know.
Oh,
they're looking
Walker
for center.
Kessler, come here, please.
Kessler?
I need you.
Yeah.
I need you.
I
I don't
think
want nobody else. He's too young. I want him.
Claxton. You like
I
Claxton?
like Claxton too. In reality, though, the fact that we got Luka,
You don't want.
why can't we get Sabonis?
What about Robert Williams?
What do
You
you
have
mean?
the-
I mean,
Robert Williams
he's
is good
injury
too.
prone.
I heard
really like him.
someone float around Malcolm Brogdon, which is interesting, because they could use
I like
a
him to run
backup
the
guard
one
depth.
ish off the bench.
Yeah.
I like it, but like I like they got to bring in a big man. I don't think Sabonis has enough defensive upside for him. I think like Claxton, maybe Mitchell Robinson, but I don't even know if he's.
I do not want
valuable.
He's
Mitchell
not
That's what I
available.
mean.
I don't
Nope.
think he's going to be available.
Kessler's a dream for them.
What's
for
interesting
sure.
about Sabonis because the Kings just made a trade for Valanciunas
Mhm.
right just a
Yeah.
couple hours ago. And it's interesting, if you have Sabonis, why do you need Valanciunas? So it makes you, I
Yeah.
mean, it certainly makes you think that maybe there's a deal for Sabonis in the works. Sacramento is interesting because we talked about the Fox deal. They get Levine. I mean, it's sort of a repeat of Chicago. I mean, if you're
Mhm.
Sacramento, you had Hallie trade him away. You had Fox. I mean, the rebuild is supposed to like get you somewhere. They got to the playoffs. They had that, great series against the Warriors. But it just never came together. I mean, I just don't understand why they keep trading away their best players and having to rebuild over and over again.
Yeah.
Just what does Valanciunas give you that Sabonis doesn't give you and more? Like Valanciunas doesn't have the assist numbers that Sabonis has at least.
But listen, trade deadline is tomorrow, and we'll see if anything crazy happens. But it's already been a great deadline. So I want to thank you for joining into 360 Sports, and have a good week.
Shout out National Women's in Sports Days. We love our women's in sports.
Yes, sir.
Let's get a round of applause for
sir.
it, please.